All right, let's finish this up. What are Fred, Sam, and Joe going to do to get out of this? It's all Greek to me. Chapter 9, and the sun is coming in at a bad angle. We'll do the best we can. Chapter 9. We are monsters like no other. We are monsters like no other. We will stomp you and your mother. We will stomp you and your mother. Sound off, monsters. Say it again, monsters. Bring it on down now, monsters, monsters, monsters. We rule. Typhon and his monster pals filled half the throne room. Fred, Sam, and I, and all the gods and goddesses gathered together by the thrones in the other half. Typhon himself was the weirdest, scariest thing I've ever seen. In the play, Brian dressed up as Typhon by pinning a lot of extra paper plate heads on his costume. But the real thing was unbelievable. 100 heads on thick, snaking necks sprouted out of Typhon's shoulders. Heads shaped like dragons, bulls, tigers, lions, and unnameable things roared and hissed and screamed and yowled. Sam's eyes bugged out and he fell back on Hera's throne. He looked so white I thought he had fainted. Behind Typhon, that guy named Guron, with 3 bodies and 1 head, held our old friend, 3-headed Cerberus on a leash. Uh-oh. Huge birds with razor-sharp claws and women's heads swooped through the air. A pack of the real giant one-eyed Cyclops guys crowded a group of scaly-skinned women with snakes for hair. Ooh, sounds like a great group, doesn't it? The half-man, half-bull Minotaur led a goat and lion-headed beast with a giant snake-head tail. Mount Olympus smoked red and black with poisonous heat and noise. I see it, but I don't believe it, breathed Fred. Leave it, said Sam, and don't look into the eyes of those snake-haired women. They're Gorgons, and one of them's Medusa. One look from her, you'll turn to stone. I turned to check out Zeus. He looked about as happy as Sam to see this bunch. Now, just a fire-breathing minute, said Hera. This is Mount Olympus. What do you all monsters think you're doing bursting in here like this? You turn right around and march right back down to your caves or mazes or underground holes or wherever it is you live. And don't let me see you messing around up here again, or Zeus will give you a mighty thrashing and blast of his thunderbolts. Isn't that right, dear? Zeus didn't say a word, because who had his thunderbolts? They did. Typhon's 100 heads hissed and bellowed and squealed. Then one bright red human head right in the middle of the whole mess spoke up. Thank you for that warm welcome, Hera, but we plan to stay. In fact, we monsters are taking over Mount Olympus. The flying woman-headed harpies screeched and laughed, dive-bombing our heads. I don't think Zeus is going to be blasting anyone with his mighty thunderbolts, hissed Typhon's red hair. Then he threw something into the air that shook the stars with a sonic boom. Cerberus howled, the monsters cheered. Typhon has Zeus's thunderbolts? Said Athena. Brilliant observation, goddess of wisdom, said Aphrodite. Clean out your thrones and hit the road, said Typhon. Monsters roll! Ah, in your dreams, 100-head, said Ares. I'm the god of war, and I'll fight you for it. The gang of Cyclopses chanted together, lean to the left, lean to the right. Cyclops, Cyclops, fight, fight, fight. Fred nudged me. That's my line. That's exactly my Cyclops line from the play. I know, I said. The only problem is it's not Brian and David and Charlie we're facing. It's the real Typhon, the real Cyclopses, and the real Thunderbolts. Artemis notched an arrow in her bow and drew it back. Poseidon raised his barbed trident. The 3-headed fire-breathing Chimera hissed with its snake head, bleated with its goat head, and roared with its lion head all at once. Ares waved his spear. The Cyclopses picked up giant rocks. Both sides stood ready to charge. Sam held his lyre over his head. Someone could get hurt. Zeus turned suddenly and grabbed Fred's thunderbolt. Uh-oh, it's not a real thunderbolt. Well, you didn't get all the thunderbolts, smart guy. Die, Typhon, die! And Zeus hurled the thunderbolt with all of his might. It flew like a shot and nailed Typhon right in the middle of his red human head. Monsters, gods, and goddesses froze. Fred's aluminum foil covered thunderbolt bounced off Typhon's head and fell harmlessly to the ground. Typhon looked down at the prop thunderbolt with the now broken tip. He looked up and smiled a very evil smile. Oh, someone's definitely going to get hurt, said Sam. Yikes. Chapter 10. About 1 second after Fred's thunderbolt hit the ground, all Hades broke loose. The Minotaur charged, Dionysus vaulted over the horns and hung on for dear life. Poseidon pinned the Chimera snakehead tail to the ground, but its nasty goat head butted him flying. Lightning and thunder rocked the air. Sam, Fred, and I dove under Zeus's overturned throne. Joe, this is completely out of control, said Sam. If the monsters take over Mount Olympus, all the stories of the Greek myths will be changed, and I think we will be in a whole lot of permanent trouble. Can't you do one of those big exploding puff of smoke tricks like your Uncle Joe does? Said Fred. I peeked out and saw Hera pulling a Gorgon's snake hair. Athena twirled her sword over her head to fight off 3 nagging harpies. I don't think this crowd is really in the mood for tricks, I said. We've got to find the book to get Greek mythology back to normal and us back to school. So why don't we... Ah! Screamed Sam. One of Typhon's dragon heads scooped Sam up in its jaws and dragged him out from under the throne. Fred and I both grabbed for his foot, but he was gone. We jumped out into the battle to see Sam bonk the dragon head with his lyre. It made a musical boing. The dragon head paused to listen. That gave me the plan. Our play had brought the Greek myths to life. Maybe something from the play could save our lives. Hit it again, I yelled. Are you crazy? Said Fred. You're just going to make it matter. Sam's lyre gave another boing. Not the dragon head, I yelled. Hit the lyre, Sam. I don't know what his plan is. I can't figure it out. 2 of Typhon's other heads turned toward the musical noise. Music is the power, just like in the play. Play some music to conquer the monsters, I called. I hope you know what you're doing, said Fred. Me too, I said, because if not, Sam was dragging lunch. Sam strummed a few notes. 2 of the harpies fluttered down onto Aphrodite's throne to listen. Go, Sam, go, said Fred. I think it's working. The dragon head lowered Sam to the ground. He started his one and only song again. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Hera and the Gorgons stopped to listen. A few more bars and the Minotaur looked up. All 3 of Cerberus's heads turned Sam's way. But he only knows one song, whispered Fred. As soon as they figure that out, we're cooked. The sound of the lyre slowly overtook the screams and shouts of fighting. If we could only find someone who could play more, I said, but who? Apollo, said a voice in my ear. Apollo, I said, of course, the god of music. Who else? I turned around and there was Hestia. It was her voice. She pointed to Apollo, who was helping Artemis fight off 3 rock-crushing Cyclopses. I hopped over a stream of poisonous burning Cerberus drool and dodged my way over there. Apollo, I said, you're our only hope. Can you play anything besides Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? Apollo ducked under a Cyclops' swinging fist. He looked at me like I was from the moon. Can I play music? Is Aphrodite beautiful? Is Athena smart? Can Dionysus drink wine? Hand me that string thing. I'll show you music. Sam, I called, hand the lyre over to Apollo. Sam backed up towards us slowly. The eyes of Typhon, the Gorgons, and half the harpies were on him. Be my guest, said Sam. He stopped in mid-verse, tossed the lyre to Apollo, and dove behind Hestia. Apollo caught the lyre and finished the song without missing a beat. Cerberus growled a warning. One of the harpies squawked. Apollo started Twinkle Twinkle again, but this time he turned it into a wild waterfall of notes playing over, around, and through the tune. The snakes on the Gorgon's head started swaying with the music. The Cyclopses stomped their big ugly feet in time. Zeus and Hera rocked with their arms around each other. I couldn't believe it. It was just like in our play. Music was the answer to calm the crazy monsters and all the fighting gods and goddesses. Apollo must have played 10 different variations of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, each more amazing than the last. Every one of the gods and monsters was hypnotized by the sound. I looked around Mount Olympus. Aphrodite held Typhon's hand. Dionysus danced with the Minotaur. Everybody was happy. Everybody but Fred, Sam, and me. The gods and monsters of Greek mythology were safe, but we were still three guys in a bedsheet toga as a long way from home. I felt an arm around my shoulder, and it was Hestia. You knew the answer to save us all along, she said. I guess we did, I said. I just wish we knew the answer to save ourselves. And get us back to opening night, said Sam. Fred picked up his broken thunderbolt and knocked it thoughtfully against his own head. Might not be bad to hang out and be gods for a while. Yeah, said Sam, not very convincingly. I'd give it all up for the book, I said. Done, said Hestia. She held up a small blue book wrapped in gold cloth. No more insults, said Sam. I think even I've had enough for one day. Hestia handed me my slightly scuffed golden apple. Here, you'll need this. She straightened my toga with a gentle pat. Break a leg. She handed me the half-wrapped book and touched Fred's thunderbolt to it. Something sparked and glowed weirdly for a second. Then a wisp of green mist swirled around us. A book! Our book! It's not a book! It's the book! Babbled Sam. I looked down at the thin blue book covered with odd silver writing and symbols. But how? Who? Where? I muttered. Hestia smiled, a very mom-like smile. I told you, it was on the bookshelf. I guess it always takes the goddess of hearth and home to find things around here. The green mist spun around. We floated over the peaceful gods and monsters wrapped in the sound of Apollo's song and disappeared into time, space, and who knows where. Chapter 11. Music washed over everyone. Gods and monsters danced arm in arm, and then it was over. The lights faded to black. The parents stood and clapped and cheered. We bowed. Fred launched his slightly battered thunderbolt out over the crowd. The audience clapped and cheered more and more and more. Opening night was a smashing success. After everyone got changed backstage, Fred, Sam, and I found our parents in the crowd outside the auditorium. The moms looked at us all misty-eyed, and the dads patted us on the back. You were wonderful, Sam, said Sam's mother. Just like we were really there on Mount Olympus, said Fred's daughter. Fred, Sam, and I looked at each other. You can say that again, said Fred. I took a certain thin blue book wrapped in gold cloth out of my backpack. Where's Uncle Joe? I have something I have to give him. Oh, he disappeared like he always does, said his mom. I'm not sure where he went. Oh, great, I said. Is it something I could take? My mom put her arm around me exactly like Hestia had on Mount Olympus. Sam nodded, his head up and down. Well, I think, Fred gave me a quick thumbs up sign. Thought about all the trouble the book had gotten us into. I thought about the great adventures the book has gotten us into. I tucked the golden package carefully back into my backpack. Sam and Fred stared at me in disbelief. I think I'll hang on to it and figure out another plan. The end. So they didn't get rid of the book, so they can still time travel, right? And at the very end of this book, it has all the gods and goddesses listed and their powers, which is really fun. And all the monsters, Typhon and Cerberus and Cyclops and Medusa and Chimera and Harpies and the Gurion, the Griffins, the Gorgons, the Minotaur. And then it tells us that you can go to John Sheska and Lane Smith's website. And he actually wrote a Greek mythology play for his daughter when she was in fourth grade. And that's what he kind of based this book on. So I may have to go check that out. Right? Bye.